Children will ruin the atmosphere, Marcus said, adjusting his silk tie while studying his reflection in our bedroom mirror. This is an important networking event, Emma. My colleagues expect sophistication, not screaming kids running around the garden. I stood in the doorway, watching my husband of 12 years transform into someone I barely recognized. Ever since his promotion to senior partner at the law firm, he'd become increasingly obsessed with appearances, fitting into the right social circles. But this was a new low, even for him. They're your children, Marcus. Jack is 7, and Sophie just turned 5. Where exactly do you expect them to go during your precious garden party? He turned to face me, his expression a mix of condescension and impatience. I've already arranged for your sister to take them for the weekend. The party starts at 4. They need to be gone by 2. My name is Emma Mitchell, and at 35, I never imagined I'd be standing in my own home, listening to my husband explain why our children weren't good enough for his social circle. Our beautiful Victorian house in Maple Grove Estates had always been a source of pride, its sprawling garden the envy of the neighborhood. Now Marcus was turning it into a stage for his social climbing ambitions, with no room for the people who should matter most. The kids have been excited about this party for weeks, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. Sophie even picked out a special dress. She wants to show everyone her butterfly catching skills. Marcus sighed, the sound dripping with theatrical exhaustion. Emma, please. The Hendersons are coming. Judge Matthews and his wife too. This isn't some backyard barbecue, it's a sophisticated garden soiree. Children simply don't fit the ambience I'm trying to create. I watched him adjust his tie one last time, remembering how different he used to be. When we first moved to Maple Grove 5 years ago, we'd host neighborhood picnics in our garden. Jack and Sophie would run around with the other kids while Marcus grilled burgers and laughed at their antics. Now, he was too concerned with impressing his colleagues to remember what really mattered. Fine, I said, my voice cool. I'll tell them they're spending a weekend with Aunt Lisa. But Marcus, don't expect me to help you host. If our children aren't welcome in their own home, neither am I. He barely looked up from his phone. Actually, that might be best. You've been stressed lately. Take the weekend off with the kids. I've got this covered. The casual dismissal stung, but I refused to let him see how much. Instead, I went to find our children, dreading the conversation ahead. I found them in the garden, Jack helping Sophie practice her butterfly catching technique with a little net we'd bought her for her birthday. Mommy, look. Sophie called out, her pink dress already showing grass stains. I almost caught one. Can I show everyone at Daddy's party? My heart clenched. Actually, sweetie, I have an idea. How about we have our own special weekend? Aunt Lisa said we could stay with her, and you know what that means. Cousin Emma's treehouse. Jack exclaimed, momentarily distracted from his disappointment. But then his face fell. But what about the party? Dad said we could help set up the fairy lights. I pulled them both close, breathing in Sophie's strawberry shampoo and Jack's lingering scent of outdoor adventures. Sometimes grown-ups make silly decisions, I said carefully. But I promise you, we're going to have an amazing weekend. Better than any boring old garden party. As I helped them pack their overnight bags, an idea began to form. Marcus wasn't the only one with connections in Maple Grove Estates. As head of the Neighborhood Children's Committee, I'd spent years organizing events and building relationships. If he wanted to exclude our children from their own home, fine. But he wasn't the only one who could throw a party. I made 3 calls while the kids finished packing. The first was to Lisa, confirming we could use her massive backyard. The second was to Maria Garcia, head of the HOA social committee and mother of 3. The third was to Tom Anderson, who owned the local party supply company and had always complained about Marcus's stuck-up attitude. A neighborhood carnival? Maria's voice crackled with excitement over the phone. Emma, that's brilliant. The families here have been saying we need more kid-friendly events. I can have approval from the board within an hour. Tom was equally enthusiastic. I've got bounce houses, cotton candy machines, everything you need. Consider it my contribution. That husband of yours has been looking down his nose at my business for years. By the time we pulled out of our driveway, Marcus was already directing the catering staff on the proper placement of his imported French furniture. He barely noticed us leave, too busy creating his perfect, sophisticated atmosphere. What he didn't know was that his perfect garden party was about to get some serious competition. Where are we really going, Mom? Jack asked from the back seat, always the perceptive one. I met his eyes in the rearview mirror and smiled. We're going to show this neighborhood what a real party looks like, sweetheart. How do you feel about carnivals? Their excited cheers filled the car as we drove away, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Marcus could have his sophisticated soiree, but in excluding our children from their own home, he'd given me the push I needed to stop accepting his increasingly elitist behavior. What he didn't know, what he was too busy impressing Judge Matthews to notice, was that the HOA had been looking for an excuse to start regular family-friendly events in the neighborhood. His garden party wasn't just going to compete with a carnival. It was going to compete with the launch of a new Maple Grove tradition. I glanced back at my children, now chattering excitedly about cotton candy and bounce houses, and felt a smile spread across my face. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about creating something better than what excluded you in the first place. The weekend was about to get very interesting in Maple Grove Estates. Lisa's sprawling backyard was already buzzing with activity by Saturday morning. Tom's crew had arrived at dawn, setting up 3 bounce houses, a cotton candy station, and enough carnival games to rival a county fair. I watched as Sophie's eyes grew wide when they unfolded a massive inflatable slide, while Jack could barely contain his excitement at the sight of the rock climbing wall. "Emma, this is absolutely brilliant," Lisa said, handing me a coffee as we supervised the setup. "Half the neighborhood has already RSVP'd to Maria. The Hendersons too. Apparently, they chose our carnival over Marcus's party. Something about wanting their twins to have fun for a change." I nearly choked on my coffee. The Hendersons were Marcus's most sought-after guests, the ones he'd been trying to impress for months. "Are you serious?" "Oh yes," Lisa grinned. "Sarah Henderson called Maria personally. Said she's tired of pretentious, adult-only events. She wants her kids to grow up in a real community." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Where are the Hendersons? They just canceled, claiming another event. Did you have something to do with this?" I ignored the message and focused on the transformation happening before me. The local face-painting artist had arrived, setting up her station under a striped tent. The scent of popcorn filled the air as Tom's team tested the machines. Parents from the neighborhood started showing up early, offering to help with the setup. "Mrs. Mitchell." I turned to see Jenny Thompson, the quiet girl from Jack's class, running toward us. "Mom says we're having a real carnival. Can I help with the butterfly garden?" The butterfly garden had been Sophie's idea. When she couldn't show off her catching skills at Marcus's party, we decided to create a special area with flowering plants to attract butterflies. The local nursery had donated dozens of butterfly-friendly flowers, and now children were carefully arranging them in a beautiful pattern. "Of course you can, sweetie," I said with a smile, watching her join the other kids. This was what a real community looked like, children and adults working together, creating something special. By early afternoon, the carnival was taking shape. Maria had organized a volunteer schedule, with parents taking turns running different stations. The Henderson twins arrived early, immediately joining Jack at the rock climbing wall. Their mother, Sarah, found me by the cotton candy machine. "Emma, this is exactly what Maple Grove needed," she said warmly. "When we moved here, we worried it would be all stuffy garden parties and forced sophistication. This," she gestured at the joyful chaos around us, "this is real." My phone kept buzzing with messages from Marcus, each one more frantic than the last. Judge Matthews just canceled too. What's going on? "Emma, answer me. Why is everyone talking about some carnival? This is completely unprofessional. You're undermining my career." I turned my phone off and joined Sophie at the butterfly garden. She was in her element, teaching younger children how to attract butterflies with sugar water. Her special dress, the one she wanted to wear to Marcus's party, was now adorned with face-painted butterflies to match her garden. "Look, Mommy," she called out, holding up her butterfly net as a monarch landed perfectly on the rim. "I caught one, and I get to show everyone." The afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the carnival as more families arrived. The bounce houses were full of laughing children, parents chatted while kids got their faces painted, and the cotton candy machine worked overtime. Even some of the older residents who usually complained about noise were enjoying themselves. Mrs. Peterson, the notorious HOA complainer, was teaching children how to make origami butterflies at a craft table. Emma, Maria called out, hurrying over with her tablet. You won't believe this. The HOA board just voted. They want to make this a monthly event. They're calling it Community Family Fun Day, and they want you to head the organizing committee. I was stunned. The HOA was notoriously strict about events, usually preferring Marcus's type of sophisticated gatherings. Are you serious? What about noise complaints? Maria laughed. Look around. Even the usual complainers are having fun. Plus, she lowered her voice conspiratorially. Between you and me, they're not too happy with Marcus trying to turn the neighborhood into some exclusive country club. This is exactly the kind of community spirit they want to encourage. As if to prove her point, I spotted Judge Matthew's grandchildren racing down the inflatable slide, their usually stoic grandfather cheering them on. He caught my eye and gave me a warm smile and a thumbs up. The butterfly garden had become the heart of the carnival. Children gathered there between activities, learning about nature from Sophie and her newfound confidence. Jack had organized a junior rock climbing competition, complete with safety demonstrations for the younger kids. They weren't just having fun. They were building connections, learning leadership skills, becoming part of something bigger. Around 4 p.m., the time Marcus's garden party was supposed to start, Lisa pulled me aside. You should see what's happening at your house, she said, showing me her phone. One of the neighbors had sent her a photo of our backyard, set up with Marcus's imported furniture and sophisticated decorations, completely empty except for the catering staff and a handful of his colleagues from the firm. The caterers are Instagramming about it, Lisa snickered. They're calling it the party that wasn't. Apparently, it's becoming a bit of a local joke. I should have felt satisfied, maybe even vindicated, but instead I felt a twinge of sadness. Marcus had become so focused on appearances that he'd lost sight of what really mattered. The sound of children's laughter, the joy of community, the real connections that make life meaningful, he was missing all of it. Mrs. Mitchell. Jenny's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Can you help us? We want to make thank you cards for everyone who helped with the carnival. I joined the growing group of children at the craft table, watching as they created colorful cards decorated with butterflies and carnival themes. This was the real sophistication Marcus had been chasing, the natural grace of children showing gratitude, the authentic connections being formed, the true spirit of community. My phone lit up with one final message from Marcus before I turned it off again. This is humiliating. We need to talk when you get home. Yes, I thought, watching Sophie teach a group of children her butterfly catching technique, we certainly did need to talk. But first, we had a carnival to enjoy and a community to celebrate. The sun was setting over Maple Grove Estates, casting long shadows across Lisa's backyard, but nobody was ready to leave. Parents set up picnic blankets, children continued their adventures, and the butterfly garden glowed with the solar lights we'd installed that morning. This wasn't just a reaction to Marcus's exclusion anymore. It had become something much more important. It had become a beginning.